Treating people according to their personality is not a new idea. Great philosophers throughout history have theorized about the differences in people. In ancient Greece, Hippocrates developed the concept of four temperaments, and in 1923, Dr. Carl Jung wrote his work Psychological Types, in which he describes four behavioral types, that is, the intuitor, thinker, feeler, and sensor. Now, anthropologists tell us that even today, the model of four behavioral types is found in cultures throughout the world. Hello everybody, my name is Ravi and I welcome you to this session on interpersonal skills where we focus on the personality type. Not only will we get to know a personality type, the characteristics and behavior, but how to identify someone with a particular type and how to interact with that person. On that note, let us move on to our first topic for today. Since a personality assessment and interpretation is a part of interpersonal skills, let us first understand what is interpersonal skills. Interpersonal skills are the skills we use every day when we communicate and interact with other people, both individually and in groups. They include a wide range of skills, but particularly communication skills such as listening and effective speaking. They also include the ability to control and manage your emotions. It is no exaggeration to say that interpersonal skills are the foundation for success in life. People with strong interpersonal skills tend to be able to work well with other people, including in teams or groups, formally or informally. They communicate effectively with others, whether family, friends, colleagues, customers, or clients. You can improve your interpersonal skills by developing your awareness of how you interact with others and practicing your skills. So, in short, the skills you need and use to communicate and interact with other people is interpersonal skills. Again, I would like to emphasize that interpersonal skills are fundamental to successful relationships at home, at school, at work, and socially. Now, each and every relationship and interaction that any of us have with another person draws on our interpersonal skills. So, developing good interpersonal skills is vital for all of us. But how do you know which areas need work? This training is divided into two parts. This is the first part where we understand the personality type, and the next session would be on four interpersonal skills. At this point, I would like you to pause the video and please download the personality type self-assessment document from the link I have provided in the description section. Now that you have downloaded the self-assessment, let us go through it in detail. So let us first look at the instructions for taking the assessment. There are 18 pairs of statements. You have to distribute 3 points between the alternatives A and B based on how you usually interact with others in everyday situations. Each pair of sentences should add up to a total of 3, no less, no more. Although some pairs of statements may seem equally true for you, assign more points to the alternatives that seem more representative of your behavior most of the time. And then document your scores, that is OSDI. Now let us look at some statements and how to rate them. If I take statement 1, 1A says, I am usually open to getting to know people personally and establishing relationships with them. And 1B says, I am usually not open to getting to know people personally and establishing relationships with them. Since I am a person who actually is open to getting to know people as opposed to statement 1B, I give 1A a 3 and 1B a 0. Remember, the total has to be 3. Similarly, if we look at statement 4, 4A states that I usually introduce myself at social gatherings, and 4B states that I usually wait for others to introduce themselves to me at social gatherings. Now, since both the statements hold true for me, I usually tend to introduce myself but I also sometimes wait for the others to introduce themselves. So I need to see which of these statements is more representative of my behavior. So I give 4A a 2 and 4B a 1. Again, 2 plus 1, the total has to be 3. Similarly, we need to score all statements from 1 to 18. If you would like to pause the video here to self-assess yourself, please do pause here, or you can understand the calculation part and then pause. But either way, I suggest you not to get influenced by the scores after looking at the scoring legend. Once you are done with the scoring, you transfer the scores as per the scoring table. So in your notebooks, you can draw 4 columns and name each as O, S, D and I. Now let us transfer the scores from the self-assessment to these columns. So under open, that is O, please enter scores of 1A, 3B, 5A and so on. Similarly, under self-contained, that is S, please enter scores for 1B, 3A, 5B and so on. In the same way, transfer all the scores in these columns. Once done, we need to add each column and get individual scores for O, S, D and I. Before that, let us look at some guidelines. The first response that comes to your mind is the most valid response. There is no right or wrong answer. Your response is valid for you. Do not answer keeping in mind one specific person or incident in your life. So be general. I would now like you to pause the video and do your self-assessment and get the 4 scores for OSDI. Once we have the scores, we can move on to the next part of the session, that is knowing your personality type, interpretation and analysis of your scores, and talking in detail about each personality type. On that note, you can pause the video now and finish the self-assessment. Welcome back. I hope that you have your 4 totals for OSDI. Let us further look into what needs to be done with these scores. Firstly, as we look at the screen, please go ahead and do the minor calculation mentioned, that is subtract O and S and D and I. The total may be a negative number. Again, subtract O and S and then D and I. Now that you have 2 totals, let us plot the graph. Now the total that we got from O minus S, please mark that number on the OS line on the graph. And the total of D and I, please mark it on the D and I line. After plotting both the numbers, you will fall in one of the 4 quadrants. Please take a note of these quadrants. So you will either fall in IO, OD, DS or SI. IO is quadrant 1, OD is quadrant 2, DS is quadrant 3 and SI is quadrant 4. Now let us identify our personality type. So people in quadrant 1 are called the relators. People in quadrant 2 are called the socializer. People in quadrant 3 are called the director and people in quadrant 4 are called the thinker. The relator and the socializer are called open or relationship oriented. The socializer and director are called direct or fast paced. Similarly, the director and the thinker are closed or self-contained and are task oriented. And finally, the thinker and the relator are indirect or slow paced. I will explain in detail about each of these combinations before getting into details on each personality type. So now that you know your personality type, and in a short while I will explain the behavior and characteristics of each. But how does that really benefit you? Remember that one of your most valuable skills in any business is the ability to read people. The people you interact with each day send you signals on how to work with them most effectively. If you learn what to look and listen for, each person will tell you exactly how to treat him effectively. So, what is there to read? Dozens of signals, verbal, vocal, and visual, tell you when to speed up or slow down, when to focus on the details, or when to work on building relationship with the other person. But why does your technique work sometimes and not at the other times? Well, it's mostly because people are different. Everyone experiences the same basic human needs, but with each person, some needs are more dominant than others. For example, one person may be the type who measures his success by results. To him, the finished product is the most important thing, and he'll do whatever it takes within reason to get the job done. His dominant need is for accomplishment. Then there is this sensitive, warm, supportive type of person whose dominant need is relationships. A third type of person usually places high value on recognition and measures success by the amount of acknowledgement and praise he receives. Conversely, another person will be more concerned with the content than the congratulations. The primary need appears to be for regimentation. In other words, things must be put together in neat packages that need to be clearly understood. You can quickly see that a different type of appeal is necessary for each of these four personalities. Recognizing this is very important because once you have learned the need of each major behavioral pattern, you will know how to work more effectively with each type of person. Let's take an example. Consider you're the sales representative at a car showroom. There are probably more than 50 customers who walk in on a weekly basis. As a sales representative, your job is to make a sale, but for that to happen, you need to convince the customer of why he needs to buy the car. And for that to happen, you need to understand the customer's personality. Example, if the customer is open, you know you need to build relationship with him or her in terms of rapport building, having a conversation, and so on. In case of a closed customer, you give him the facts about the car, like the mileage, the max power, the torque, seating capacity, and so on. With the direct customer, you need to move fast, and with the indirect customer, you need to be slow, be patient. Please remember that when people act and react in social situations, they exhibit clues that help to define their behavioral styles. You can identify behavioral styles by watching for the observable aspects of people's behavior, like verbal, vocal, and visual actions that people display when others are present. Identifying behavioral style is possible by classifying a person's behavior on two dimensions, openness and directness. It is much like measuring a foot for a shoe. Make it wide enough for the widest part and long enough for the longest part, and the rest of the foot will fit someplace in between. Let us first look at the relator and socializer who are open. Now, openness is the readiness and willingness with which a person outwardly shows emotions or feelings and develops interpersonal relationships. Others commonly describe open people as being relaxed, warm, responsive, informal, and personable. They tend to be relationship oriented. So in conversation with others, open individuals share their personal feelings and like to tell stories and anecdotes. They tend to be flexible about time and base their decisions more on intuition and opinions than on hard facts and data. They also are likely to behave dramatically and to give you immediate nonverbal feedback in a conversation. Let us look at some characteristics of an open person. They are animated, they use hand gestures, their arms are open, they smile or laugh, they like to touch, that is a firm handshake or a touch on the arm or a pat on the shoulder. They approach you, they speak easily and fluently, and they like to maintain a conversation. Now moving on to closed. Closed individuals commonly are seen as formal, and proper. They tend to be more closed and aloof in their interpersonal relationships. These people are more likely to follow the letter of the law and try to base their decisions on cold, hard facts. Now, closed individuals are usually very task oriented and disciplined about time. As opposed to open people, they hide their feelings in the presence of others. So, some of their characteristics are they are reserved or stoic, stillness, and a tight body. Their arms are close to the body, that is, arms crossed or in tight. Their hands are usually in the lap or in the pocket. They do not make eye contact or look away, and they smile infrequently, or they have a difficulty in smiling. They don't instigate conversation, or they have difficulty maintaining small talk, and they do shy away. Now consider the second dimension, directness. Now this refers to the amount of control and forcefulness that a person attempts to exercise over situations or other people, their thoughts and their emotions. Direct people tend to come on strong, take the social initiative, and create a powerful first impression. They are fast-paced people making swift decisions and taking risks. They easily become impatient with others who cannot keep up with their fast pace. They are very active people who do a lot of talking and appear confident and sometimes dominant. Direct people express their opinions readily and make emphatic statements. Some of their characteristics are they know what they want, they get to the point, they like to be in control, and they like to dominate a conversation. They may be very competitive, they are fast paced, they like taking risks, and they expect results now. On the opposite side of the spectrum, indirect people give the impression of being quiet, shy, and reserved. They seem to be supportive and easygoing. Now, they frequently ask questions and listen more than they talk. They reserve their opinions and make tentative statements when they must take a stand. So some of the characteristics are they speak slowly, they are patient, they are not competitive, and they make decisions based on their own security, that is emotional, physical, or financial. They let others take the lead and they avoid confrontation. They are methodical and avoid risks. Now, openness and directness levels vary among individuals, and any one person may be high in one, low in the other, or somewhere in between. In other words, every person has some usual level of openness and some level of directness. When directness is combined with openness, it forms four different recognizable and habitual behavioral patterns or behavioral styles. That is the socializer, the director, the thinker, and the relator. Each style represents unique combinations of openness and directness and is linked to separate and unique ways of behaving with others. The name given to each style reflects a very general characteristic rather than a full or accurate description. As you better understand why people behave the way they do, your knowledge can help you communicate with others effectively and openly to help them feel more comfortable in their interactions with you. So how do we identify each type? Let us look at some characteristics of each. First is the relator, who are open and direct. The relator is open and unassertive, warm, supportive, and reliable. However, the relator sometimes is seen by others as compliant, soft-hearted, and acquiescent. The relator seeks security and belongingness, and like the thinker, is slow at taking action and making decisions. This procrastination stems from his desire to avoid risky and unknown situations. Before he takes actions or makes a decision, he has to know how other people feel about it. The relator is the most people-oriented of all four styles, having close, friendly, personal, and first-name relationship with others is one of the most important objectives of the relator style. The relator dislikes interpersonal conflicts, and so much that he says what he thinks other people want to hear rather than what is really on his mind. The relator has tremendous counseling skills and is extremely supportive of other people. He also is an incredibly active listener. You usually feel good just being with the relator because the relator listens so well to other people. When it comes his turn to talk, people usually listen. This gives him an excellent ability to gain support from others. So what do relators look like? So at work, their desks often hold family pictures and sentimental items. Their walls are decorated with conservative art, serene picture, family or group photos, and supportive slogans. Their offices are warm and inviting, and they prefer to not have a desk between them and their visitors. Now you can spot a relator by their calm, relaxed, slow-paced, and supportive styles. They are excellent listeners. Their eye contact is steady, and they show empathy by nodding their head to one side and nodding in agreement. So how should you treat relators? They want warm and fuzzy relationships. You have to earn their trust before they will let you in. Support their feelings and show interest in every facet of their lives. Take things slow. They are relationship oriented but slow paced. You should talk in terms of feelings, not facts. With relators in general, be non-threatening and sincere. So let us look at some characteristics of a relator. They accept change slowly and reluctantly. They're like close personal relationships. They are warm and accepting. They share personal feelings and emotions. They are open and unassertive. They approach risk cautiously. They dislike interpersonal conflicts, supports and actively listens to others. They are weak at goal setting and self-direction. They ask many questions and they seek esteem and acknowledgement. They are good at counseling skills and they are slow to take action and make decisions. They prefer first name and informality, and they are often unsure, so they speak with a question at the end of statements. And working with them, so you approach relators with warmth, and relators will respond if you get to know them personally. Be likable and non-threatening, professional but friendly. Go at a slow pace, develop trust, friendship, and credibility. Study their feelings and emotional needs as well as their practical needs. Don't push or rush. Offer personal assurances whenever you can. Be consistent and regular in your communications, and answer a question with a question to build the relationship more. Moving on, let us look at the socializer. The socializer are open and direct. The socializer is high in both directiveness and openness, readily exhibiting such characteristics as animation, intuitiveness, and liveliness. He is an ideal person, a dreamer, but he also can be viewed as manipulative, impetuous, and excitable when displaying behavior inappropriate to a particular situation. The socializer is a fast-paced person with spontaneous actions and decisions. He is not concerned about facts and details and tries to avoid them as much as possible. Now, this disregard for details may prompt him at times to exaggerate and generalize facts and figures. The socializer is more comfortable with best guesstimates than with carefully researched facts. He thrives on involvement with people and usually works quickly and enthusiastically with others. The socializer always seems to be chasing dreams, but he has the uncanny ability to catch others up in his dreams because of his good persuasive skills. He always seems to be seeking approval and pats on the back for his accomplishments and achievements. The socializer is a very creative person who has the dynamic ability to think quickly on his feet. So what does a socializer look like? At work, they arrange their offices in open, airy, friendly ways. The offices are inviting to visitors. Their walls are covered with signs of recognition, including photographs with celebrities or high profile executives. Their choice of art or posters is upbeat and they are stimulating. They are outgoing, friendly, and you can spot socializers by their focus on themselves, their enthusiasm, and their penchant for storytelling. It is always obvious that socializers would rather chat than get down to business. So, how should you treat socializers? Socializers thrive on personal recognition, so pour it on when there is a reason. Support their ideas, goals, opinions, and dreams. Socializers are social butterflies, so be ready to flutter around with them. A strong presence, stimulating and entertaining conversation, jokes, and liveliness will win them over. They are people oriented, so give them time to socialize and avoid rushing them into tasks. Socializers are less reliable than others, so get all the details and commitments in writing. Be clear and direct in your expectations of them. Give them incentives for performance when possible and check on them periodically to make sure they are on track. So let us look at some characteristics of a socializer. They are spontaneous actions and decisions. They are talkative. They are fast paced with spontaneous actions and decisions. They are gregarious. They jump from one activity to another, work quickly. They operate on intuition. They like involvement. They exaggerate and generalize. They are risk takers and they are enthusiastic. They also are very creative, have the dynamic ability to think quickly on their feet. So with socializers in general, be interested in them. So working with a socializer, be agreeable with socializers. When prospects are socializers, be stimulating and show your interest in them. Allow them time to talk. Meet them boldly, don't be shy, and introduce yourself first. They want to be the center of attraction. Give them the attention they need. Propose your solution with stories or illustrations that relate to them and their goals. Confirm the details in writing. Be clear and direct. Study their dreams and goals as well as their other needs. Moving on to the next type, the thinker, who are indirect and closed. The person who has the thinker style behavior is both direct and closed. He seems to be very concerned with the prospects of thinking and is persistent, systematic, problem solver, but he also can be seen as aloof, picking, and critical. A thinker is very security conscious and has a strong need to be right. This leads him to an over-reliance on data collection. In his quest for data, he tends to ask many questions about specific details. His actions and decisions tend to be extremely cautious. The thinker works slowly and precisely by himself and prefers an intellectual work environment that is organized and structured. He tends to be skeptical and likes to see things in writing. Although he is a great problem solver, the thinker is a poor decision maker. He may keep collecting data even beyond the time when a decision is due, justifying his caution by saying, when you are making vast decisions, you cannot do it on half-vast data. So what does a thinker look like? Now, their desks are structured, organized, and neat. Their offices are decorated functionally rather than artistically, like socializers, or powerfully like the directors. Their walls may contain charts, computer printouts, or other exhibits related to their projects. Thinkers keep their desks between themselves and their guests, and their office seating implies formality and non-contact. Conversationally, you can spot thinkers easily by their slow pace and attention to accuracy. So how do you adapt to thinkers? Thinkers are time disciplined, so be sensitive to their time. They need details, so give them data. They are task oriented, so don't expect to become their friends before doing business or working with them. They may develop later, but unlike socializers, it is not a prerequisite for thinkers. Support thinkers in their organized, thoughtful approach to problems and tasks. Be systemic, logical, well prepared, and exact with them. Give them time to make decisions and work on their own. Thinkers like to be complimented on their brain power, so recognize their contributions. Now, with thinkers in general, be thorough, well prepared, detail oriented, business like, and patient. Let us look at some of their characteristics. Thinkers are slow and methodical. They pay attention to detail. They most likely to have studied everything on the internet before the session, maybe double checking my answers right now. They need to have all the answers. They don't look you in the eye. They don't say much, and they make many visits or meetings and have all the facts documented. So how do you work with a thinker? Now, thinkers want accuracy. So for best results with thinkers, plan to be well prepared to answer all their questions. Meet them quarterly, but get down to business quickly. Study their situation in a practical, logical manner. Ask a lot of questions and make sure your questions show a clear direction. Propose logical solution to their problems and offer documentation. Don't push, give them time to think. Be accurate in your dealings with thinkers. They demand it. Now let us move on to the director. The director is very direct and at the same time guarded or closed. He exhibits firmness in his relationship with others, is oriented towards productivity and goals, and is concerned with bottom line results. However, the negative traits can be stubbornness, impatience, toughness, and even domineeringness. Now, a director tends to take control of other people and situations and is decisive in both his actions and decisions. He likes to move at an extremely fast pace and is very impatient with delays. When other people can't keep up with his speed, he views them as incompetent. So the director's motto might well be, I want it done right and I want it done now. The director is typically a high achiever who exhibits very good administrative skills. He certainly gets things done and makes things happen. The director likes to do many things at the same time. He may start by juggling 3 things at the same time and so on. And as soon as he feels comfortable with those, he picks up a 4th. Now he keeps adding on until the pressure builds to such a point that he turns his back and lets everything drop. Then he turns right around and starts the whole process over again. So what does a director look like? At work, they often have large power desks that look busy with lots of projects separated into separate piles. Their walls are adorned with diplomas, awards, and perhaps a large planning calendar. You can spot directors by their get down to business and discuss the bottom line approach. They are fast paced and allow little or no time for small talk. So how should you treat directors? Directors are very time sensitive, so never waste their time. Be organized and prepared to work quickly. Get to the point and give them bottom line information and options with probabilities of success if it's relevant. Give them written details to read at their leisure. Remember, directors are goal oriented, so appeal to their sense of accomplishment. Stroke their egos by recognizing their ideas and subtly reassure them of their power and prestige. Let directors call the shot. If you disagree, argue with facts rather than feelings. When groups, Allow them to have their say, because they are not the type who will take a backseat to others. So with directors in general, be efficient and competent. Let us look at some of their characteristics. They are high achiever who exhibit very good administrative skills. They move quickly and with a purpose. They can be stubborn, impatient, tough, and even dominating. Like I said, the motto, I want it done right and I want it done now. I have other priorities, so don't waste my time. They tend to take control of other people and situation. They like to do many things at the same time. They are decisive in both actions and decisions. Now, working with the director, talk business with the directors. So when working with directors, plan to be prepared, organized, fast-paced, and to the point. Meet them in a professional and business-like manner. Propose solutions, clearly defined consequences and rewards that relate specifically to the director's goals. Study their goals and objectives, what they want to do and how. Provide 2 or 3 options and let the director make the decision. Now, if during a conversation you must take issue with the director, argue the facts, not feelings. So what happens when different personality types get together socially? Well, the 4 basic behavioral styles mix and match into 10 combinations. Behavioral science research shows clearly which combinations mesh or clash naturally. For starters, people with similar tendencies are most compatible with one another socially. That is because those with common interests, habits, and approaches help reinforce each other's self-esteem. Therefore, it will not surprise you to learn that most naturally compatible combinations in social situations are thinker-thinker, rater-relater, socializer, and socializer. Where you ask are the directors? Well, they also tend to flock to one another, at least for a while. However, they possess a strong competitiveness that even the director-director relationship is not quite as naturally harmonious as the others are. That pairing does, however, show up under the moderately compatible category. Director-director, relator-thinker, director-socializer, and socializer-rater. Now, compatibility does not come quite as naturally in these cases. However, with effort, progress is possible, and in fact, success in working with less compatible individuals can be an esteem builder in each case. Directors and socializers show an outward focus and often similar interests. Raters and thinkers, on the other hand, are both inward oriented and may like the same kinds of activities. Both socializers and raters aspire to be in supportive relationships, usually though it is the relator who is in the giving role and the socializer who is the receiver. Meanwhile, the fast-paced, extroverted directors and socializers commonly find it hard to develop rapport with the easygoing, quieter raters and thinkers who are less decisive and enthusiastic. And the raters and thinkers in turn find the directors less desirable because they are too pushy, too loud, and often demand too much of them. Therefore, all of the 10 combinations, these 3 pairs are often the least compatible socially: director and a rater, socializer, thinker, director, and thinker. So to the director who just wants to get things done, and to the socializer who just wants to have fun, the cautious thinker and steady raters can be drags. While raters often resign themselves to tolerate the forwardness of directors and socializers, the thinker frequently just prefers to be alone. What's more, even when relaxing, the thinker wants to do all things right. The thinker sets standards and judges himself and others by how they meet them. So the thinker in the eyes of the director and socializer is not living as much as he is just serving time. So by and large, never the twain shall meet, at least unless and until the platinum rule is practiced. On the positive side, though there is a fascination factor in these three pairings and bridges can be built, given the positive energy, the natural differences can fuel attraction, particularly when one style sees what it can learn from another. A director, for example, may see how he can become more patient and responsive to others by taking a cue from a relator. A relator, meanwhile, may be able to draw on the director's strength for taking charge and accepting risk. Similarly, a sensitive socializer can see how she can learn discernment from thinker, and the thinker perceives that she can become more relaxed and sociable by being around the socializer. Perhaps the most difficult hurdles socially are posed by director-thinker relationship. For it to work, both must yield their personal control needs, with the director deciding to give the type of space the thinker needs, and the thinker learning to be much more direct and open about his concerns with the director. However, you can get along with anyone regardless of the natural compatibility or lack thereof of your personality styles, because you can cater to their particular needs and desires. It just takes knowing the other person's personality and knowing what they want and giving it to them. So that brings us to the end of this session. Thank you so much for watching.